Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Canal Algérie's nightly news. On to the headlines. On the second day of his visit to the 3rd Military Region, Minister Delegate to the Minister of National Defense, Army General, Chief of Staff of the PNA, Saïd Chimriha, supervises a live-fire tactical drill. A study day on startup incubation through productive enterprises held by EPTV, led by the Communication Minister and key officials in attendance. The 7th Algerian Products Fair launched in Mauritania, promoting national industries and aiming to open up West African markets. Islamic Development Bank meetings wrap up with over 70 agreements signed, signaling strong development partnerships. Urba openly advances its normalization agenda, hosting military units linked to brutal offensives despite global outcry over the war crimes. Welcome back. During the second day of his visit to the 3rd Military Region and as part of his follow-up of preparation programs of the year 2024-2025, the Army General Saïd Chimriha, Minister Delegate to the Minister of National Defense, Chief of Staff of the PNA, supervised today the execution of a tactical exercise with live ammunition titled Al Hisn Al Mania 2025, executed by units of the Southern Tindouf Operational Sector. Manal Maafa with more.
At the beginning, the Army General, accompanied by Major General Nasruddin Fodil, attended a briefing presented by the exercise director. The presentation covered the general concept of the exercise, the phases of its execution, and the expected objectives. They then proceeded to the firing and maneuvering range of the southern operational sector of Tindouf, where they observed the combat actions carried out by the involved units. These actions, executed with professionalism and a high level of tactical and operational proficiency, reflect the strong operational capabilities of the staff at all levels. Marked by strong coordination among participating units, the exercise showcased the high competence of personnel in executing combat operations. Their mastery of available weapons systems and equipment led to highly accurate fire and strict adherence to set timelines.
بكل دقة وفعالية. فإن باستعمال
At the end of the exercise, the Army General met with the personnel from the participating units involved in this successful tactical operation, which stood out in terms of planning, preparation and execution, demonstrating the high level of readiness and competence of both leadership and staff. He congratulated the unit leaders for their efforts throughout the 2024-2025 combat preparation year and during all phases of the exercise. He also emphasized the need to intensify efforts to further strengthen the capabilities of the People's National Army and the AIC, aiming for continued success in ensuring Algeria's security and stability. Finally, the Army General Said Chingreha reviewed the units that took part in the exercise.
Tonight, a focus on the future of Algeria's economy as the Algerian TV has taken a leading role, hosting a crucial study day aimed at transforming our productive enterprise into springboards for innovation. And it is from Steve that will know more about how state media is positioning itself as a key partner in economic development. Melissa Kobesh.
The province of Sétif today resonated with discussions about economic dynamism and the power of new ideas. Algerian Public Television organized this pivotal study day, putting the spotlight on how established economic entities can effectively nurture the next generation of Algerian startups.
جيت من أتلانتا جورجيا.
I worked with Atlanta, Georgia, then I had the idea of coming to Algeria and start working with Algerian companies in this field. We are a startup specialized in the field of oil and gas and are considered as the first private Algerian company that gained a work contract with Sonatrach.
Under the theme Productive Economic Enterprises, Incubators for Startup, National Television, Space for Interaction and Communication, the event saw active participation from top officials, including the Minister of Communication, the Director of Algerian Television, and several governors. The core objective, to explore EPTV's evolving relationship with the economic landscape and to highlight its increasingly significant role in supporting the state's broader development agenda, and to highlight its increasingly significant role in supporting the state's broader development agenda.
Media outlets have an important role in accompanying startups to allow them to occupy a position at the level of our national economy. The national television represents an efficient mediatic tool for supporting startups in light of innovative initiatives and by offering a content that reinforces the culture of innovation. The creation, promotion and accompaniment of startups, notably young entrepreneurs, is a national project par excellence to which the President of the Republic accords great interest, as it is a developer project for the future of our country and is part of an enlightened vision of the President of the Republic. Media today has a very important role during this crucial period to reinforce the Algerian economy. We will embark on this journey together, along with the roadmap created with the Algerian television.
الهيئة الراقية العريقة. وتأتي هذه المبادرة لتؤكد مرة
I would like to highlight the qualitative bond achieved by the national television in the field of concretizing the citizens' values that does not consider the economic operators as simple announcers but partners with whom they share the same concerns and ambitions.
ونفس الطموح طموح أعادت إحياءه الجزائر الجديدة، الجزائر المنتصرة، جزائر النماء والرفاه والرخاء، جزائر الإنتاج والإبداع، جزائر العزة والسيادة والأمن والاستقرار.
This gathering underscores a strategic effort to harness our national resources, including our public media, to drive economic growth and innovation across Algeria.
And in other news, the Islamic Development Bank wrapped up its annual meetings in Algiers after 4 days of talks, signing over 70 deals worth nearly $5 billion with 26 member states and regional institutions, by this underscoring its commitment to impactful development. Coverage by Yamina Saiji, taken up by Minisa Lila Balaman.
Cooperation among Islamic Development Bank member countries is seen as a cornerstone for building sustainable growth. Experts emphasize the need for concrete high-impact projects to boost competitiveness and ease access to international markets.
Nous avons vu en tout cas un intérêt particulier pour
There's growing focus on small and medium-sized enterprises by activating local banking systems and financial institutions. We aim to provide Islamic trade finance tools that will not only enhance our SMEs' global competitiveness, but also connect them to international trade platforms.
Pour le commerce international, ce qui va rajouter dans la compétitivité de nos PME-PMI.
Algeria, a key member of the bank, continues to play a leading role in this momentum. With its strategic assets, the country is positioning itself as a regional investment hub.
Nous avons des relations très étroites donc avec
We've developed strong ties with insurance providers like Cajex, as well as companies in the pharmaceutical and steel industries. The real priority now is building partnerships to expand Algeria's exports and attract more investment.
Pour moi, le plus important, c'est de forger donc des partenariats.
Nous avons déjà les partenariats.
Our partnerships already exist, but here we've deepened them, especially with Senegal's AOCAP and beef representatives, unblocking issues that were delaying our project. I must say, among all the annual meetings I've attended, this one in Algeria stands out. My sincere congratulations.
Je vais quand même terminer pour vraiment adresser mes chaleureuses félicitations à l'Algérie. Ce n'est pas la première réunion annuelle que j'assiste, mais celle-là restera dans ma mémoire.
In an interview with the Algerian television, Islamic Development Bank Group President Dr. Mohamed Suleiman Al-Jasser praised the strength of Algeria's economy, stating that the country has no need to borrow given its comfortable financial position.
Algeria has strong financial leadership and isn't in urgent need of support. Still, with the Minister of Finance and in the presence of the Prime Minister, we signed the Country Engagement Framework. It outlines a standby program the state can access if rapid funding is needed, fully under Algeria's control. The funds, available for 3 years, are pre-estimated based on its financial strength. As a committed and capable member, Algeria has consistently fulfilled its obligations to the Islamic Development Bank, a fact that speaks for itself.
أيضا دائما هي من أوائل الدول التي تفي بالتزاماتها مقابل البنك الإسلامي للتنمية بشكل يبعث على الافتخار ولله الحمد.
After 4 days of intensive deliberations and discussions, the outcomes underscore a strong commitment to fostering development and cooperation across member states.
And in Nouakchott, the 7th edition of the exhibition of Algerian products kicked off with the participation of around 200 exhibitors with participants from various sectors, notably startups. The event that will last until the 28th of this month aims to showcase the Algerian product and the capacities of public and private sectors. In his statement to the Algerian International Radio, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Nigeria, said Tougar Maitama, stated that the Trans-Saharan gas pipeline project is a real turning point for his country.
The Trans-Saharan gas pipeline is something that's very important for Nigeria and, of course, Algeria. We have lost a lot of time. Now we're finally beginning to make progress because there was a meeting about 2 months ago between the Nigerian Minister of State for Gas, the Algerian Minister for Energy, and the Minister for Energy of Niger Republic.
Algeria's permanent representative to the UN, Ammar bin Jama, speaking from New York, called on the Security Council members to take immediate action against the violations of humanitarian law in the Gaza Strip, stating that there's no longer room for policy of double standards and no one is above the law. Bin Jama explained that the situation is unacceptable and that the Council cannot continue to remain silent and inactive, indicating that we must assume our responsibilities and act without delay, noting that Algeria, with the support of the Arab group, intends to circulate a very precise draft text on humanitarian situation in Gaza and on the access and distribution of humanitarian aid throughout the Strip. Bin Jama also stated that the laws exist. What we lack is the political courage to implement them. We must collectively affirm our commitment to the principles of the Charter. International law is non-negotiable. It is the latest shield protecting innocents from the horrors of war. We owe it to the victims. We owe it to them to ensure respect for these rules. Bin Jama emphasized that the Gaza Strip was the area that witnessed the largest number of violations of humanitarian law in 2024 due to the Zionist aggression, noting that the United Nations recorded more than 36,000 civilian deaths in 14 armed conflicts during 2024. The vast majority of them was in Gaza. A draft resolution submitted by Algeria and other countries was adopted, calling for Palestine to be included in the international health regulations. This resolution was adopted during the 78th session of the World Health Assembly. This resolution aims at consolidating Palestine's participation in the World Health Organization. Morocco's invitation to the Zionist Army's Golani Brigade for joint military exercises casts doubt on its support for Palestine, revealing a widening gap between official rhetoric and military actions. Melissa Lila Baraman explains.
As Palestine continues to endure relentless attacks by the Zionist entity's military, Morocco's recent actions suggest a troubling departure from its declared support for the Palestinian people. Beyond allowing military shipments through its ports, Morocco has crossed the line by inviting soldiers from the controversial Zionist Golani Brigade to join the African Lion's 2025 military exercise on its soil. Founded in 1948, this brigade has long been linked to operations causing civilian casualties in Gaza, Jenin, and Nablus. Its most recent actions, just 2 months ago, led to thousands of civilian deaths.
La brigade Golani est nommée d'après le plateau du Golan.
The Golani Brigade, named after Golan Plateau, is training with its elite unit, Sayarat Golani, in simulations replicating tactics used against Palestinian resistance in Gaza. Palestinian NGOs have condemned this as a betrayal of the Palestinian cause. The unit is linked to the March 23, 2025 Rafah massacre, where it attacked 2 ambulances and a fire truck in El Hashashin, killing 15 people, including 8 Palestinian Red Crescent workers and a Bulgarian UN employee.
Le 23 mars 2025. Alors, Sayarat Golani a attaqué 2 ambulances et un camion de pompiers.
This level of military collaboration cannot be dismissed as routine diplomacy. It effectively lends political cover to a force accused of grave international law violations, placing Rabat in clear alignment with an army facing well-documented war crimes accusations.
Cette opération, en réalité, est une véritable insulte.
This operation is an insult to the Palestinian people. As the genocide in Gaza nears 600 days, the UN warns that 40,000 children face death by starvation without urgent aid. A joint military display by the Zionist entity and the Moroccan regime shows the need to reject these statuses, complicity, and reaffirm our solidarity with the Palestinian resistance, not just against the genocide, but for full liberation and the return of their land from the river to the sea.
Mais que nous devons nous mobiliser pour réaffirmer notre solidarité avec la résistance du peuple palestinien.
While the world demands justice for Palestine, the Makhzen's decision to host Zionist forces exposes a deep hypocrisy, aligning itself with an occupying army while claiming solidarity with the oppressed.
Morocco's nomination for the UN's prize, Nelson Mandela's Prize, meant to honor lifelong defenders of justice and human rights, has stirred strong criticism. Spain's Progressive Prosecutors Union accuses Rabat of exploiting Mandela's legacy to legitimize a regime long denounced for human rights abuses in Western Sahara. Manan Maafa with the full story.
Morocco's candidacy for the Nelson Mandela Prize, a prestigious UN award recognizing lifelong dedication to the service of humanity, has triggered sharp criticism from Spanish Union of Progressive Prosecutors, who argue that the nomination contradicts the values the award stands for. The UPF has expressed strong opposition, viewing the move as an attempt to whitewash Morocco's international image, despite ongoing allegations of serious human rights abuses, particularly in Western Sahara. The organization claims the nomination undermines the legacy of Nelson Mandela, who remains a global symbol of resistance to apartheid, oppression, and colonial rule. In their statement, the UPF stressed that awarding Morocco, which continues to occupy a non-self-governing territory, would be a grave affront to the memory of the people still subjected to colonial structures. They pointed to ongoing reports of repression in the Sahrawi territories, including arbitrary detentions, suppression of dissent, torture of political prisoners, and exploitation of natural resources. The prosecutors contend that this nomination is more than symbolic. It represents a broader effort by Morocco's ruling establishment, the Makhzen, to co-opt Mandela's legacy for political gain while disgrading the principles of international humanitarian law. They accuse Rabat of silencing dissent and systematically targeting Sahrawi voices, all while attempting to present itself as a model of progress and stability. According to the UPF, using the United Nations and Mandela's name in what they describe as a reputational campaign is both misleading and unacceptable. In their view, Morocco's track record disqualifies it from receiving an award rooted in justice, freedom, and human dignity.
Let's head now to Tizi Ouzou for Azeron Thor Trail, where many Algerian and foreign athletes will run on 2 circuits of 23 and 42 kilometers around the Tirourda village up to the summit of Azeron Thor, which rises to over 1,800 meters above sea level. With these joyful scenes, we end tonight's bulletin. Thank you for watching. Enjoy your weekend.